Hello, and we are continuing our holiday cheer. I made a little bit of Christmas content this year, at least 3, hopefully, if I can get them all done in time. We'll see what happens. This might meet you in the new year. Sorry about that. You can always save it for next year and watch it then, too. I'm sure I won't even have the thumbnail up till that. It's hard to do things, which is why if you have the generosity of spirit this season and some extra money because you scored big this year or you need to get rid of it before the taxes come, may I interest you in donating to the links down below? Or if money is a bit of an issue because this time is wildly expensive, please following me on social media. They're all also listed below. That helps a lot, so thank you so much, and also make sure to subscribe to this channel. Alright, we're getting into Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart, that old song, that all good stuff, and, but it's not actually the song, it's the movie starring Emilia Clarke, and Emma Thompson's in it. But anyway, we open in on 1999. There is a beautiful child singing Little Katrina. She's singing in the choir. She's singing softly. She sounds like Elle Goulding. Her eyelashes are simply stunning as well. And her family is all admiringly watching her sing, and her sister is admiring another choir girl. This movie doesn't make a lot of sense. Just want to preface you with that. It's gonna get a little bit weirder. So now it's London 2017, and Katrina now goes by Kate, and she's listening to Heal the Pain by George Michael 4 times. She is a singer, and she has a bunch of luggage, and she has left her flatmate. She's distant with her family, and she hooks up with this one guy and sleeps at his place, and she uses the shower in the morning and then is unfortunately greeted by the man's wife, and she's caught, literally so vulnerable in the shower with makeup all messed up down her face, and she is just lamenting her life being so bad. So Kate works at a Christmas shop where there's this really cool Christmas display of lights, a lot of beautiful set decor. She works for a woman who goes by Santa, and she sees potential in Kate, but Kate screws up a lot, which is annoying. Kate is also fried fish with a blow dryer, or maybe that's a Christmas ornament, unclear. I would like a blowfish ornament. Could somebody donate that to me, please? Thank you. Or even a lionfish would be cool. Anyway, Patti LuPone is also here, Broadway legend. I love when Patti LuPone sneaks into something, even though I think Patti LuPone is probably very, very mean. Who knows? Anyway, Kate wants babies. I liked the diversity in the cast, but although Michelle Yeoh, I think she does incredible stuff now, but I don't love her in this part. I don't know. It could be direction. It's not amazing to me. So anyway, Kate's sister barges in and is like, hey, we need to go talk to Mom, but Kate doesn't want to. And then Kate meets this man named Tom Webster, and she finds him charming, but a bird poops on her, and that is, no so great, freaks me out, and a little bit to get a bird poop on. It would really scare me. Everything's kind of happening very fast in this movie. I don't really love the pacing personally. So there's also weird singing ornaments. The connection between the boss and Tom, which means it's everything is said really dramatically. It's really weird. Also, Kate was told to lock up, and she didn't lock up around Christmas time. That was really weird. Clowns also chase her. It's very, very strange. I really don't understand this movie. So she auditions as an elf with her little suitcase, and they're like, sure, you can do it, but she has kind of an acapella penalty, and because he just doesn't like that she did acapella, and he's like, okay, you've got the part, and she's like, really? And he's like, no, you were shit, you were terrible, because she was late to the theater auditions she was forced to sing a cappella as her penalty, and the judges dismiss her as terrible. And she also is trying to crash with her friend and her friend's husband, but her friend's husband is not fond of her because she accidentally burned his model ship, which is just it was an accident and it is just a model ship, but like I said, men are sometimes the worst. Anyway, she keeps running into this Tom guy. She runs into this guy, Peter, and he and Santa have a connection. That's the thing they were dramatically whispering about. Very weird. And she decides to go out with Tom because she keeps running into him. And she's a cynical little elf going through a couple of dark times. And Tom is just like, when you're sad, like, try to take a walk. And she's like, I'm not a dog wearing a collar, which I honestly love, because I feel like that's always the mental health advice, which is, like, take a walk. And walks are really nice, but also, like, people understand, especially, like, if you're a rape victim, trying to take a walk. And also, like, can you walk in the middle of the night? No, you can't, because somebody will rape you, because we live in this society that does that. That's so awful. That's obviously not very Christmas, but somebody will rape you even though it's Christmas time, and that is a sucky fact of life, y'all. Very, very sucky, sucky, sucky. But Kate is not a career elf, and Tom is, like, pointing at all of these animals, I think trying to cheer her up. She still has, like, a rolly suitcase. The fact that all of her stuff is in a suitcase is just overwhelming. And she goes skating with Tom, which is pretty fun, and she learns that Tom volunteers at a homeless shelter in his spare time. Very nice man. Doing the good work out there. And Kate starts to have fun. And at first she was like refusing to skate. She's got to go to an audition. But the guy's like, wing it. And the guy doesn't have a phone. And I think they make this joke of like, oh, that he's not as weird as, he doesn't look as weird as he looks racist. But I couldn't tell that he looks weird. Sometimes I hate in scripts when they're like, this person is this thing, and the actor playing them is so clearly not that thing, and it's like, so I don't know if that page wasn't written yet as casting, or like, we just didn't think about it, but it's like, you gotta rewrite it if they're not the thing, or like, why say it? It's so awkward. So, when Kate is staying with her friend, she just feels like she's basically locked in a cupboard, and she wants to just like try death. She often mimes things to her friend. Her friend is also pregnant as well and falls asleep when talking to her, and she asks her to go drink when she's like pregnant, and the pregnant woman is all upset with her because of the strain that she put on her relationship with her husband, as Kate has like burned his small wooden boat project. And she also brought a dude to their home, which is just a huge yeesh, and ruined the ball that it was working on. On top of that, she comes to work to find that the shop was broken into, and the cop that's helping them doesn't know how to spell ordinary, and the boss already just knew she didn't lock up somehow. I mean, I'm guessing that's like assumption, and maybe just something that she often does, and this is the time that they paid for it. And yeah, Kate sure is away with people. But anyway, Santa basically smashed the window to get insurance to make it look like a break-in. And yeah, I would say that she nails the dramatic moments more than the comedy moments in this Santa. Somehow, despite all of that, Kate gets a chance and isn't fired. However, though, her friends do kick her out. Kate opens up to Tom about this illness that she had, which she required a heart transplant, and that it made her feel bad about herself, and that she's felt like half dead ever since because she needed this help, which I think is a very important thing and does get like super buried in all of the wildness of this movie about like how we have such shame in like healthcare in our society, that when you become disabled or when you have a health problem, you feel like less than for getting help on it. Like, we have so much shame on like not being completely independent, even though that's like literally impossible, and you cannot survive as a human doing that. And Kate asks Tom to kiss her tonight, and he does, but she wants to see him again, and Tom is like, you can't be dependent on me, which makes her upset. That would make me upset too. That's like a really weird thing to say. Like, why are you hanging out? Anyway, she then decides to join her family for dinner. When she talks to the cab driver, it threw me off. I think she almost hits Tom on the bike when they're driving, but it ends up being like her dad, who like waits until she's asleep to like avoid talking to each other, and she has to say that she's the KBG to enter. They have no Christmas decorations. Kate gets all mad at them that they call her Catherine, not Kate. She sings to the daughter. They're also all Russian. And the sister makes everything really tense because she is like, oh, Kate, you always act so helpless after your illness. And Kate then is awful and outs her sister to the family. We love a Christmas outing, I guess. This is the theme of this year. Most of the Christmas things I've reviewed right now, somebody outs somebody. Amazing. It's so rough. And Kate calls her parents out for smothering and barely being home because her dad works as a cab driver, but Kate assumes that he takes the hours he does to get away from the family. And Kate is just really frustrated because the doctor said, to take really good care of her heart. And her mother needs to sleep. as I guess she's always processing that all of her friends were murdered. It's also interesting because she has no Russian accent, which I feel like this person would have, but they don't, and especially that they were, like, the people who had escaped from war. And they go back and talking about how, like, Kate is very ill, and when she was very ill, her mom thrived, and Kate learned singing from her. Santa has a lot of weird outfits. Also, Emma Thompson wrote this movie with her husband, and I guess it's, like, sort of about their love story, but I feel like they don't understand comedy at all, which may be hard when you're romanticizing, like, how you met together or whatever, because it really feels like a first draft. But anyway, Kate goes to the homeless shelter to look for Tom, but nobody seems to know who Kate is talking about, and she ends up, like, having to volunteer and help out, and has to even set the bucket outside while dressed as an elf and is singing Christmas carols and everything. And so she learns to skate. She's, like, running on ice skates, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna just see life through his eyes. He's, like, always saying that he should look up. It feels like so many concepts are dropped, you guys, and the ending's gonna be really cheesy, but just, like, hang in there, okay? Just sorry for this review, but I had to talk about it. Good or bad. It ends up on this channel, and we discuss it, and here we are. And Kate is deciding to try to do right with other people. She apologizes to her sister, meets her sister's girlfriend. Her sister forgives her. Also, there's just some really rough dialogue in this show. It's like, all the best things in life is, like, the best Christmas of life. Like, just really awful. And Kate keeps recalling when she, like, does this routine on the ice rink and she, like, slipped, and she, like, jokes and says, like, oh, I just did that in case I thought too perfect, when her and Tom were, like, on the ice rink. I think her eyelashes are really cool on her, and she says that her taking off her lashes hurt, which usually taking off my eyelash doesn't hurt. There are times where it can, like, if the glue's on, like, one eyelash and it's gonna rip that eyelash off, it will hurt, but that was weird. So on the bus, Kate sees a Yugoslavian couple get harassed by this racist guy, and Kate sticks up for them in her native tongue and says, you know what, you're welcome here, and she introduces herself as Katrina. She decides to get better at her job and bonds with Santa, who really only uses that name as, like, a nickname for her job because her name is Juan Sequin, and, you know, people can't pronounce that because people are awful sometimes. Because, yeah. I mean, it's not that simple. I have a hard time sometimes, like, pronouncing names, and it's, like, nothing personal. It's just I'm silly with my mouth and whatever. But I want to practice and try to get it right, and it's, like, hard because you can't really hear yourself. Like, you hear, like, an echo of yourself, but it's not your true voice. That sends my mind on a journey. But anyway, Santa, or as we should say, Juan Sequin, is seeing the Danish man, but she can't pronounce his name either, so she calls him Boy, which I love. I guess the other name she went, like, Miso when she worked in a health store, Kitty when she worked in a pet shop, Muffin when she worked in a bakery. Those are the names that she used, which I honestly love. And also it was really weird when Kate picked a fight with her sister, because she was like, oh, you're not even really a girl, and she just often goes, like, she just feels like very uneven as a character, and she'll just go from, like, supportive to combative very quickly. She's also still volunteering. She has to limit the homeless's biscuits, which seems counterproductive, but alright. Her sister, meanwhile, is also doing better than her. Her sister gets promoted. Her mom understands about penis and dick, and their dad taught him the phrase "nail you to my dick," which sounds pretty sexual, pretty wild. There's a lot of weird stuff, like in the scene where the sister was gay and Kate outed her. Her mom, like, repeated a phrase, and it just seems like a lot of nonsense will just happen that isn't really caused, and the comedy is often, like, the thing that you would say in that situation, so it's just very, very odd. I mean, to be fair, Emma Thompson is, like, usually pretty funny, too, so this is weird, but maybe it was her partner that, like, just took all the funny out of it, and she loved him so much she didn't care. So, she was pretty upset when she couldn't find Tom, and she's recalling when he took her to his place, which was, like, a super clean and bright studio, and they were on the floor, and she told him about the heart transplant, and she showed the scar, and he touched it, and they do the show, because the whole thing is that this is, if you haven't really gotten it by now, the whole thing is, like, last Christmas, I gave you my heart, right? So it's the lyrics of the song. It's okay, I know. Just take your time. But anyway, like, took her heart and threw it away. It just felt like super weird and super cheesy, obviously, doing this concept. And it kind of shapes her that it's like, you know, like losing your heart is losing the most special part. And it's so cheesy. And she recalls when he was like, oh, you were lucky to be alive, even though she feels like half dead. Messy makeup is like a theme in here, and they keep saying like, oh, this special thing is overrated, but we don't really get it. And I guess maybe it's slightly in the beginning, but it's just very, very weird. So she learns that, you know, when she was recalling memory Tom, that he built everything he did, and she has to lie down, but she still has her shoes on, which I don't know if I could sleep in shoes, you guys, but people be trying. So Tom thinks that's close enough, and Kate is like, well, I told you everything about me, I want to know about you. But then she goes out, and because she's like a heavy duty sleep. And they even talk about, I think right before she goes to sleep, that Kate believes that everyone can sing, and she sings a lullaby and wants to be kissed by him, and she knows words to songs that like I don't even know, and they kiss, and that's that memory. But Kate's on her journey being nice. She gives her boss a latte, she sings for the shelter. Her voice is very pleasant, but she gets in trouble because she doesn't have a permit, and the cop is like, you're causing obstruction. But the other cop says they'll turn a blind eye, and then she ends up like getting some recognition for singing. She's making less than minimum wage, but you know what? It's fulfilling her heart and soul, so what does it matter? And she decides to like give up auditioning because she wants to make healthy choices, and she just starts making money singing for the homeless, and she does auditions for the homeless and unhoused, and she's really frustrated because she's like, she guesses that Tom maybe like locked his phone in a cupboard because she can't get a hold of him, and is very frustrating, but he did say she could depend on him. And she's just really sad, and she's like, I just am not gonna heal my heart, you know, like if I give it to somebody else, like someone else is going to break it. And she's like going to other homeless shelters trying to like figure out where it is. And I honestly will say, there's like, when she was standing up for the racism thing, is like, have you ever really heard anybody say, like, when somebody is like speaking a foreign language, anyone say speak English? Like, I feel like it's in everything where they're like, speak English, get out of the country, but I've never seen that happen in actual life. I know it probably happens online, but I've never, and because people are just like trolls online because they don't have the like, you can hide behind a screen, you're not looking at a human face, all of that stuff. But yeah, I've never ever seen that. And she's learning to be less selfish at 26. Hey, you know, same. She like says 1 second to her guy friends that are hitting on a girl buddy, and she says, you know, there's not going to be a second one. She turns down drinks, and definitely this movie does not pass the Bechdel test because she asks her boss if she has had sex, and Kate admits that she's kind of made a career out of being a victim, and she keeps this thing and doesn't want her mom to send stuff back, and she brings her friends fish and a boat and a huge gift basket to make up for when she burned the friends that she was staying at's little model boat, and she's just making right all of her mistakes. And then she goes back to his apartment. She finally finds it, but she meets a realtor who is putting the place up on the market, and Kate assumes that Tom is selling the place, but the realtor is like, oh no, this person has been dead for months, this previous owner. And yeah, I'm so confused. So when she had that memory, was she like just going in squatting? I'm very, very confused. And he died last Christmas. He mentions that the name is Webster. He passed away a year ago. And we see a flashback where Tom was riding his bike in through the streets, and he was hit by his truck, and he was a donor, and so his heart was transplanted in Kate. Last Christmas, Tom gave Kate his heart. It's just a lot. So she imagined him. The pickup shot of her when she realizes this information, she was so not upset. I would honestly feel like I was suffering from schizophrenia doing all of this, but there's a beautiful poem, I forget the title of it, where it's like the phantom lives, and like, oh, being like replaced with body parts that you feel like this other person's energy. I often wonder about that because, as you know, I have a cadaver in my left eye, which is like somebody died and gave me their cornea, which is pretty interesting to think about. And I often wonder about like, you know, it is like a different body part. You are changed to some way, and I don't know how interconnected it is with the brain. I'm not that much of a scientist, but it was pretty interesting. And yes, she changed, but she also did things out of her own heart, or I guess in totality, like Tom's heart. And her boyfriend is like, he was like a Jesus. She like fell in love with her own heart donor, and I'm still confused how she knew the flat and she took like so long to come back to that, but I guess now she promises that she is going to take care of her heart, and she's very devastated, and she sits on a bench that she frequented with Tom, which is also, the bench happens to be a memorial for him. And he's like, you can feel me because you're a part of me. And they couldn't fuck because he's her heart, you know? So that was the whole reason why of that. It's not that she was not a beautiful girl, so it's nothing personal. He was just a figment of her imagination. This movie, you guys, this movie is so wild. I just can't. Yeah, I love that the bench was also like a donation bench for a memorial, and like she didn't even like realize that it's like him. And anyway, who knows? Who knows what's going on? This is London. The place might be wild. So 2 weeks later, there's Christmas lights. She's an elf again. She, on her suit, she thanks her mom for like helping her make her very festive dress. She feels very lucky to be alive, and she's so happy to help other people in little and big small ways. And she sings Last Christmas. I'm still processing that she made out with her heart. She has a band with light up sweaters. She has a total different vocal range from a child, but I guess maybe after heart surgery her voice changes, who knows. And her family comes to sing her, even though her dad is like, you know, don't sing a depressing song because like the war is over and don't kill us with sadness. So very charming father. Her sister invited her girlfriends. She's all happy, and they all perform Last Christmas, of course. So yeah, that was Last Christmas. What did you think? I guess maybe people have a really hard time rating a Christmas movie bad because it becomes like weirdly a religious thing, but yeah, I could have survived without this movie. This is a lot to do, but if you like this review and you want more, feel free to comment, feel free to ask me some suggestions, and if you could subscribe and follow my social media channels, that would mean so much. Yeah, let me know what you thought about this movie. Thanks, I hated it. It was a lot. I was honestly very surprised because I felt like Emma Thompson, like, how could she ever produce crap, you know? But surprise, I just didn't like it. It wasn't for me. Very interesting of her to produce a Christmas movie, though. But now the more Christmas movies I watch, I'm like, oh, I'm probably gonna make a Christmas movie one day. Might be the werewolf one. We'll see what happens. But yeah, but if you want to help support that, you know, feel free to donate below. Appreciate you all for listening, and I hope you have a really happy holiday season. And, you know, hopefully you don't make out with your heart donor who's been dead the whole time. And you're in a fantasy. I don't know. Good luck to you. Good luck to you out there in that world. Bye. Have a good one.